Hello, everybody. Welcome to Low Tox Tuesday, and tonight we're going to talk about lavender. I get asked a lot of questions about lavender all the time, and I remember many people saying, I don't like lavender. Lavender makes me feel nauseous or can give me a headache. And a lot of people just say, I just don't like lavender. The reason why that is because lavender is no longer the old-fashioned lavender in the way it used to be. It's grown differently, it's produced differently, it's cut, it's, unfortunately it's the most. Okay, so what does that all mean? There is just not enough lavender in the world for us all to have lavender. And lavender is considered the Swiss Army knife of oils. It's had over 10,000 studies on things that it can do. I can't tell you about all of them, obviously, but you can have a look on PubMed. A lot of people just say, oh, try lavender or use lavender. And they don't realize that lavender has really changed over the years. And since essential oils have become so popular, especially in the last decade, that most lavender out there is just not the real deal, okay? We get used to that smell when you walk into a soap shop or into, certain shopping centres and dusk and things like that. You walk in and you smell and you think that's what lavender smells like because that's what we're used to having around. But Young Living lavender is very different for a number of reasons. So we've got two different bottles here and I'll explain the difference and why they've got different labels, even though it's exactly the same oil. So we'll go through that too. But most of the lavender, back in 2016, seems so long ago, I was really fortunate enough to go to the lavender farm in France with Katrina Munger and many other Aussies. And we went to the farm and we drove through the area in Provence and there was fields and fields and fields of lavender. It was absolutely amazing. But what we saw mostly were these identical fields. So these fields that were straight rows, same colour, same size, picture perfect, okay? So what we learned is that is actually clone lavender, not traditional lavender. Okay, so it's still lavender, but they've cloned it and it grows only from cuttings, not from seed. And those clones have been around for 50 years, so they haven't changed. So if everybody listening to this, if we're all clones, we'd have the same strengths, but we'd also have the same weaknesses. It's not the way nature intended us to be. And that's the same with the clone lavender. So, people go, oh no, but my bottle says, or Lavandula augustifolia, okay, which is what our true lavender is. But clone lavender is also Lavandula augustifolia, hybridized, okay, so I have an X and all the rest of it, but on the bottle it can still just say Lavandula augustifolia, so you think you're getting the same. Here's a little picture of Lavendin, augustifolia, Lavandula clone, and the wild lavender, the true deal, what we call population lavender. And the reason why it's called population is because each plant is different. It'll have a different height, a different color, different constituents, everything will be different. So when that crop is harvested, it will all produce, all those different constituents all come together and you've got such a full-bodied oil that has so much going on, okay? And that's the way nature intended it to be. Okay, so the other types of lavender. So the sad thing is that the majority of it now is grown in China or Russia and it's Lavendin, okay? So Lavendin is a much cheaper type of lavender and they then export it to France where they cut it, adulterate it, they add SD40 or propylene glycol or synthetic linalool or linalool acetate to actually, because it has no smell and it increases the volume of the oil. So what you're getting in the bottle, it's been cut, okay? So then, of course, it comes to us and we can't smell the difference. Like most people, that's the smell that we're used to and we think it's exactly the same. The other problem is that it's camphor, because in the essential oils, there's all different constituents, okay? So one of those constituents is camphor. And camphor in lavender is between 7 and 12%. Which will actually increase burning, not help a burn. So we know lavender is incredibly soothing for skin, but you don't want to use the one Lavendin, because Lavendin on a burn is only going to make it worse. It's not going to make it better. So you're not going to want to put that in your lip balms and your baby products and things like that. So, but you can read that bottle and it won't tell you this. So this is where knowing the company, knowing where it's come from, how it's grown, how it's distilled is so, so important. So here is the Aroma International Magazine of Essential Oils. Now, I got this quite a few years back. You'll see it was a conference of 2000, okay? And there's a really interesting line in here, or paragraph in here, and I like to share this with people because, okay, so domestic consumption and export of lavender oil far exceeds the amount produced by agricultural methods. It has become profitable to mix less expensive essential oils like Lavendin or Bulgarian lavender from clones with synthetic linalool and linalool acetate to offer the resulting bouquet of true lavender. When the product is shipped from addresses in Provence, the deception is slick enough to generate more business than for the real oil. In a local Provence newspaper, the president of the Lavender Association said, "We produce 50 tonnes of true lavender and clone lavender, but the brokers are exporting 250 tonnes. So this is a greater miracle than the Virgin Mother appearing 3 times. Okay, so this is how corrupt it is, even out of, France. So in 2011, Gary merged with a number of farmers in the area, and Young Living now has the largest farm international of population lavender. Not many people grow it. So in that Provence region, there was about over 1,000 lavender growers farms, and 40 of them that are merged together, or 38 of them, are actually grow, out of the 40 that grow population lavender, 38 of them are Young Living farms. Okay, so that was the number back then when Katrina and I went in 2016. So it goes to show what's in everybody else's bottle. So the question we asked is, why would everyone grow clone lavender instead of the way that God or nature intended it to be? And the answer is because you get 6 times more oil out of a crop. So out of an acreage, you're going to get up to 6 times more oil. So it's all about money. So we, as Gary said in one of his statements here, which I thought was really, it's the clone lavender is greater yield and the profit is higher, where ours is not. Basically, we might not be able to produce as much, but we produce much better quality. So that was really, really quite important that was the case. The other thing is that we don't use pesticides at all. You go there and you hand weed. They hand weed to be able to get rid of any weeds. And the way it's distilled is very differently as well. So we distill at a lower temperature for a longer period of time to be able to get all the constituents out and not damage anything. So we've actually, in the last few years, they've got a new way of distilling. So they go all into these bins, and the bins come in and the big steamer sort of locks on top and seals it, and that way. So we've actually started the art distilling methods, but the way that we distill, how long we distill, the heat and the temperature all can affect the oil. The other thing is that we do not distill until the brick test, which is a little test where they test the glucose level of the lavender. They have to test it every hour. And when it gets to a certain level, then they know it's right for harvest. So it's really, really important that they don't harvest at the wrong time, because they want to have an oil with all those amazing constituents that are going to do all those wonderful things, okay? So that's really important as well. And then, of course, every single bottle goes through a number of tests there. And then when it goes back to the labs at Utah, it goes through multiple tests, multiple times to make sure every bottle can go up to 90 tests in the bottle and in the stainless steel. Only glass and stainless steel, so no plastic or anything comes into contact at any time either. So there's a lot of things that are very unique to us. Now, there's a little story that when Gary first wanted to learn about lavender, because he was introduced to lavender and he said, I need to learn more. So he dropped everything, sold up everything, and went to to France to learn about distilling lavender from the masters. Anyway, while he was there, he shoved the lavender seeds in his boots and brought them back to the St. Mary's farm where he planted it out. So many years later, the lavender farms in France got attacked by a beetle, a sectator beetle. And what it did, it chewed through, but it left a virus in the plants. So all the farms were starting to die off. And Gary actually, because he'd grown using their farms back in Utah, not Utah, St. Mary's in Idaho, he brought the seeds back to France to help repopulate. and it was the same DNA, the same plant, the same. So it was wonderful that we're able to do that, to bring those plants back to France, and yeah, so we've got it there now. So that's what makes us so unique. Not only your oil could be pure, it could be organic, but what type of lavender bush is it? Very unlikely for it to be the true population lavender grows from seed, because there's not as much money in it. Okay, so it comes down to these two bottles. So this is the one that was our original lavender bottle, and we can use this as a culinary oil. So lavender hot chocolate is amazing. Lavender cream with scones is lovely. Lavender chocolate, oh, there's so many different recipes actually with lavender, it's quite surprising. So lavender is a culinary oil, which is great to have. This one here is part of our wellness oils collection. Now, it is the same inside the bottle. It's just that we have gone through and got claims that we can make this one through the TGA. Okay, so I can tell you some of the amazing things that lavender can do. You can have a look and do your own research. You'll learn a lot more. But we're allowed to say, traditionally used in aromatherapy for to decrease the symptoms and duration of headaches, decrease colic, wind and gas pain, promote energy levels, relieve toothache, as an analgesic to relieve pain, to relieve mild nerve pain, to relieve mild joint pain, aches and pains, to decrease mild rheumative aches and pains, to help reduce mild muscle spasms, to help relieve symptoms of muscle strain, to reduce abdominal and digestive spasms, to reduce occurrence of abdominal spasms, as an antispasmodic, to reduce the symptoms of stress, we all need that, to reduce the symptoms of occasional occurrence of mild anxiety, as a nerve system relaxant, to calm nerves, and as an antiseptic for minor cuts and abrasions. Now, I use it all the time when I am gardening. If I get any cuts, rose thorns go through me, any bumps or anything like that, it's just absolutely amazing. It's the first oil that I go to, is I go for the lavender. As I said, beautiful for babies. One thing I want to tell you is that for a relaxing night's sleep, 1 or 2 drops is enough. 3 or 4 drops can have a reverse effect. So if you're putting it on topically, less is more. I learned the hard way. When I used too much of this, it used to stimulate my daughter, where 1 drop on a pillowcase, out like a light. So don't go overboard. It's really potent. You don't have to use very much at all. If you're a member in our forums, you can put lavender in the search box and you'll be able to see lots of videos and lots of information, heaps and heaps of recipes. But as I said, I do a lot of classes making products for babies, we would never ever use anything than the Young Living lavender on my animals, pets, babies, because I don't want to use a lavender that's got high camphor rate. As I said, it can give some people headaches, where, as we know, the wellness one used traditionally in aromatherapy is amazing with mild headaches. So it's a great one to have in your kitchen, have it in your handbag. It's a wonderful oil. I had trouble running around the house trying to find them because there's never enough lavender in our house. We use it all the time for many, many things. So everyone was who's got my lavender. So it's a great one to have. I think I've given you heaps of information here. You can do that research. There's information in our members group, but I just wanted to let you know, not all lavender is equal. Unfortunately, it's the most adulterated oil, and really, unless you know the origin, you know how it's distilled, and you know whether it's grown from seed or from cutting, because they're both called Lavandula rugostifolia. So unless you know the company, you're not knowing what you're going to get. And the best way is to smell the difference. So if you've ever smelled one of our Young Living lavenders and then you smell another one, you can smell a distinct difference you can actually smell a very with the other types of lavender, very herbaceous with that camphor sort of undertoning smell. Or if you can smell if it doesn't smell like real, like you want it to smell like the plant. It should, if you crush the leaves of the plant, that's what it should smell like. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. If you've got any questions, you can ask on the forum. We'll be happy to help. Thank you.